Welcome back to the channel. I'm your host, Daniel James, and as always, if you're new here, welcome. Is it time for you to let go and move forward? If so, then stick with me as we talk about what that actually looks like. We're going to talk about the concept of actually letting go. We're going to dive into what potentially you need to let go of, because it may not be what you think that's holding you back. We're then going to dive into the benefits of letting go. And then finally, if you stay with me till the end, I'm going to share with you some strategies on what you can use to actually let go. Now, these are strategies that I use with my Ascend coaching clients, so stick with me as we get to the end. Now, before we dive into this, I just want to clear up the distinction between moving on versus forgiving someone, because there's a massive, massive difference. And as we dive into this, I don't want people to potentially have gone through some really nasty stuff at the hands of an individual to think that I'm saying they have to forgive someone. What we're talking about here is moving on. We're talking about letting go of something and moving on. We're not talking about forgiveness, because when it comes to moving on, it's about looking forward with your life. Moving on is looking forward, and it's you getting on with your life, whether or not it includes that offending person. So there's a choice here, but the main thing is we're focusing on moving forward. That's what we're focusing on. Whereas forgiving someone is another behavior, and it's more about forgiving that person that has caused you harm and forgiving their actions and anything that came as a result of that. They're two very different things. Now, part of moving on could be forgiveness, but they are two different things. You can move on without forgiving someone. And today we're focusing on the moving on. We're not talking about forgiveness. There may need to be a little bit of forgiveness towards yourself about situations, not a person, a situation. But apart from that, we're not discussing anything to do with that. We're talking about you moving your life forward. So the definition of letting go is a conscious choice where you're choosing to release an emotional attachment towards past events, a person, or a situation. So this whole thing is about an emotion that's keeping you stuck. You're having an emotional response, you're getting stuck, you're getting trapped in a negative thought pattern, and you can't let go. So when we're talking about this letting go, when we're talking about moving on with our life, we're talking about letting go of that emotional attachment, because we become hooked. And once we're hooked on that past experience, that person, that situation, that thing, it can be very, very quick and very hard to get out of it. But we're not talking about forgetting. We're not talking about forgetting this event happened. We're not talking about, what we're doing is we are freeing ourselves from the emotional weight of this past experience, personal thing. So we're not talking about forgetting. We're not talking about the forgiveness aspect. We're just talking about letting go of that metaphorical rucksack that's just been weighing you down for potentially years. Because once you let that go, you can then actually move forward with your life. And that's what we want. We want to let go and move forward. We don't want to get stuck in the past. And the reason why we struggle to let go, I find in many cases, is that people are afraid of the unknown. Fear is such a crippling thing. Because right now, you are attached to this familiarity, this pain, this negative thought pattern that you are in. It's familiar to you. And that may be hard to swallow, but that's like your emotional home. I talk a lot with clients about emotional homes. You have a default emotional setting. And if for years you have been holding on to this person, this situation, this event, this thing that's happened, that then could be your emotional home. Your emotional home could be anger. It could be guilt. It could be shame, embarrassment, whatever it is. We're stuck on that. And then to get away from that is quite hard. Because if you've made your whole identity about this thing, this person, this situation, if you've made your whole identity about being angry and closed off, to then actually step away from that is going to be quite difficult. It's going to be quite scary, because you're going to be moving into the unknown. Because by letting go of this emotional attachment, essentially you're losing a part of yourself. Because the emotion that you're feeling, here's the thing here, key part here, the emotion that you're feeling about the person, situation, event, or thing could actually have kept you alive. It could have actually kept you holding on through all these years. But then there comes a certain point where you have to realize that holding on to this now is actually holding you back. Yes, it served a purpose. Brilliant. But now it's actually holding you back. I've worked with clients, especially when I was working in the fitness space, where they were very overweight. We're talking here 200, 300 pounds. And the reason why they were struggling so much to release this weight was because they'd attached an emotional identity to it and this safety. The anxiety that was caused by the situation event was diminished by holding on to this safety or the illusion of safety of weight. But once they realized and accepted the fact that this weight had protected them for so long, and these emotions that they were feeling around this had protected them, but it was now no longer serving them, once they made that realization, it made the journey so much easier because they realized they had to let go. And the analogy that I use is like you're holding on to this ball. You're holding on to this ball, and this ball that was once your comfort is now a battered, deflated, horrible, disgusting ball. You're still holding on to it with both hands. And the rest of your life is there with this amazing shiny ball. And it's like, hey, I want to throw you this ball. But you're holding on to this so tight, this old emotional home, that you can't accept this amazing new ball that the universe and the world, whatever you believe in, has got for you. You have to let go of this old emotional attachment. And we have to then move on with our life. We can't get stuck in the past. There's another reason why we struggle to let go, because a lot of people can struggle with the misconception that letting go means that you're giving up or admitting defeat. And that could not be further from the truth. What you're actually doing is showing real strength. There's no defeat here. You're saying, hey, I'm above this. I know that I'm so much better than this, and you cannot hold me here anymore. You've held me here for too long. I'm not giving up. I'm actually moving on. I'm too good for this. And the final reason why we struggle to let go is because we have this identity that's tied to the past experience or relationships to do with that event. And when we make this identity shift and we make this change, this pattern shift, it can be very difficult because it can be very isolating. And this is the part of the journey that no one talks about, the self-development journey, is the fact that it can be so lonely at the start as you separate yourself from that old environment, from that old identity, from the people, the situations, the things that emotionally kept you stuck there. Once we start to let go, it's mega. Once we actually start to let go, we can massively reduce things like chronic stress, anxiety, depression, mood disorders, difficulty forming new relationships or pursuing opportunities, because all of these things have been held back by us holding on to the past and not letting go. And as soon as we release it, it's like we're sinking. You know that feeling? You're sinking, you're drowning, and you can see the top of the ocean, but you're just drowning. As soon as you let go of that ankle weight, as soon as you release that ankle weight, it's like you're able to float up and actually experience all the amazing things that life has to offer, rather than letting this past experience thing, person, situation hold you back and feeling like every single day you're drowning. Because I've been there. It's exhausting. Now, some things that we may need to let go of, some things that may be holding us back, it could be past regrets and mistakes. So at the very top of the episode here, I mentioned about forgiveness. And this is potentially where you have to forgive yourself for past mistakes and past regrets. And we've spoken a lot about that pain plus reflection equals progress. It's a prime opportunity for this. We'll talk about strategies at the end, but that's a great one for this. It could be you need to let go of toxic relationships. I'm not necessarily talking about romantic relationships. It could be friendships. It could be family situations. It could be work relationships. But we need to let go of these things because they're causing us to drown. We could also need to let go of limiting beliefs and self-doubt. But again, if you've had this belief and this crippling self-doubt for years and you're wanting to let go, that then can be scary, because what new beliefs are you going to find? Your whole entire life has been built up around this potential lie, and you're stepping out of that. That can be scary. But when you let go, the benefits are huge. As I said, it feels like you can finally breathe. You can put that heavy rucksack down and you can breathe. You can start to live life on your terms. You get emotional freedom. Because a lot of the times when we're holding on to this stuff, we shut off our emotions because it can be very, very painful for what we're holding on to. So what we do is we just shut off all of our emotions. But what we think we're doing is shutting off the negative emotions that we don't want to feel. But what actually happens is we shut off all of our emotions, because our emotions are like a tap. You can't just isolate the hot or the cold. You isolate all the water. So because you don't want to feel the negative, you now can't feel the positive and the warmth. And by letting go, you actually get these emotions back. You turn on the tap. You're going to start to actually feel all the amazing things that life has to offer. As we mentioned, it can reduce stress. It can reduce anxiety. It can give you massive mental clarity, because if this thing, event, whatever it is, has been holding so much of your mental capacity and that infrastructure in your mind, if you release that, wow, look at all the space that's created for potentially some amazing thoughts. These new, empowering, positive thoughts, new possibilities. By letting go, it can create better relationships, newer relationships, and better relationships. And it can also increase your focus on the present and then also the future, which is ultimately what we want. Because if we're stuck in those past emotions and that past thing, then we're not really living life to the fullest. The analogy that I use is by us holding on and staying in the past, it's like we're driving a car, but we're just looking in that rearview mirror. And all we're going to see is just the past things over and over and over again. So, as promised, let's talk about some strategies for letting go. Now, there's an amazing book called The Body Holds the Score. I highly recommend that you read it. It talks a lot about how trauma and emotions can get trapped in your body and how to actually release them. But a big thing to do to release a lot of this physical stuff within our body is to actually shake it off. And I talk about this a lot when you're feeling anxious. So potentially just shake your body, just shake it off, just free shake. It sounds really silly and stupid, but just shake. Look at animals. When animals go through a traumatic experience, like a zebra being chased by a lion, when it escapes, it shakes its body. It shakes all that nervous energy out of its muscles. It shakes it off. Yet we as human beings don't do that, but we have the ability to do that. It releases all of this tension, and then it symbolizes that we're shaking off and getting rid of all this stuff that doesn't actually serve us. So we've got to be intentional about why we're shaking, what we're releasing, and what we're letting go of. Another thing that we can do to add on to this, to really connect with the body, is breath work and breathing and releasing. Breath work exercises are insane. They're absolutely incredible. They're things that I highly recommend. I do them myself personally. So if you want to find, if you're in the local Nottingham area, please let me know. I've got some amazing facilitators that can help you. But if you're not in the Nottingham area or in England, if you're in the US or anywhere else, feel free to search breath workshops in your local area. You will not be disappointed. They are incredible. They're an amazing way to release this stored up tension and emotions within your body. And the emotional release at the end is phenomenal. Another thing that you can do, and this is what I recommend my Ascend coaching clients do. This is one version of it, not the one I recommend they do. But you can write a letter to a person or situation that you need to let go of. Remember, we are not forgiving them. We are moving on. Very different. So in this letter, we're not forgiving them for anything. We're letting them know, hey, I'm moving on. You write it, you get it out, you purge it, you purge it, you purge it. And then you burn it. You burn it to symbolize the release. You're burning it to get rid of that hold that it has on you and your life. And you're saying, hey, I'm done now. You don't have that power over me anymore. I'm moving forward. And then finally, we can do something called gratitude in disguise. Again, there's plenty of episodes I've done on gratitude. Please go back and look. There's a live workshop that I did. I actually link it up here and also in the comments. There's a whole live workshop I did with an amazing group where we spoke about gratitude and some amazing exercises in there. But with this exercise, we list out positive outcomes or lessons learnt from a difficult situation you've been struggling to let go of. So you're showing gratitude for the struggles and the challenges, but you're picking out the lessons and the positive outcomes that have come from this. Because every cloud has a silver lining. Sometimes it's just very difficult to find that silver lining, and we need that gentle encouragement. If you know someone that could benefit from this episode, please don't wait. Load up your WhatsApp, send them the link, and pass on this message. My mission is to help as many people as possible to get out that mental prison that they've put themselves in. So if you've taken value from this, or you know someone that would, please do us a massive solid and help us to share the show to get this information out there. Until next time, take it easy.